I'm Bailey Francisco, and I'm speaking with Gina Bianchini. She's the CEO and founder of Ning. Gina, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Ning is a social network for anyone who wants to create an experience around a social experience around their interests. Is that right? Maybe
Yeah.
You should explain what
So we are a social platform for interests and passions. So when people basically want to meet other people around the things that they truly care about, Ning is a great place to be able to create a rich, immersive social experience. So just to give you a context, we have over 2 million Ning networks that have been created.
Over 2 million Ning social networks.
Over 2 million, 2.1 actually if we want to get specific, and 5,000 new ones are created every single day. So if you look at the market, you have Facebook, which is fantastic for connecting you to people that you already know, your friends from high school, your extended family. Twitter is really amazing for news and real-time events, 140 characters and links off into all these different interesting worlds. LinkedIn, professional identity, and what we really do is, again, allow people to express themselves and to really have an impact around the things that are the most important to them.
Talk about the biggest social network. You have two of the 2.1 million. Which one is the biggest? How many members on that one?
So it's really actually, I think the more interesting point is the fact that of our top, call it 5, 10 Ning networks, the thing that I never expected when we started Ning was that we would have one of our largest Ning networks for fans and people who are embracing the hip-hop lifestyle on thisis50.com, or people who are passionate about wind energy and organizing by each congressional district on thepickensplan.com on Ning around wind energy. And they were able to actually touch 91% of congressional districts in something like less than 6 months by organizing on a Ning network. And we have all of these different Ning networks that really allow people to express themselves in new and interesting ways, from entertainment to activism to education to all of the specialty or specialized interests that people have that really make them unique. And so the largest Ning networks, I just think it's really funny that they sort of span this sort of interesting set of
hip-hop to clean tech.
Yeah, like who would have thought?
So when Facebook has a social network, I guess if it were a country, it's the 4th largest in the world.
It's amazing. They've done such an amazing job.
How big can a Ning network get? Like a little island, or you talk about the hip hop and the wind energy, and how many people are in that community?
So across the Ning platform, we touch 95 million people around the world every month. And that's actually been growing. So about 4 months ago, it was 70 million.
What percentage in the U.S.? What
percentage in the U.S.? It's about, I would say 40% is in the U.S., is around the right number, 60% international. So what we think is so interesting about Ning and Ning networks is, you can look at it, and so many people are trying to sort of quantify social media and social networks and social platforms, whichever term you want to use, as to, well, is bigger better? And my perspective and our perspective at Ning is big's important because that's actually where you get the breadth of distribution. But if you look at Facebook and Twitter, they're phenomenal for one thing, which is to start the conversation. And what we believe that Ning really allows you to do is dive deeper into the conversation and really organize and have an impact. I'll give you an example. In Massachusetts, big news, Scott Brown won the Senate seat of Edward Kennedy. He basically decided he was going to run, and it was within a few days that he was up on Facebook, he was up on Twitter, and then he had and his supporters created a Ning network called the Brown Brigade. And that was for the people who wanted to organize for Scott Brown. So what he did is he used traditional media, he used Facebook, Twitter to drive people into the Brown Brigade. 7,000 people were in the Brown Brigade. Those 7,000 people,
members on the Ning.
those 7,000 people organized for Scott Brown in a very rapid period of time, and he won.
Right.
Now, he had a powerful message for sure, but he and his team were able to raise something like 2x the amount of money that they had wanted to originally raise online by leveraging all of the different social platforms in a coordinated and holistic way, with Ning really playing the role of a hub and really playing the role of how do we actually organize the organizers. And I think it's just a great example of how people can really take advantage of all the things that are available to them today within the context of social technologies and use them in a coordinated way for real, powerful, important impact around the things that they care about.
So maybe in a couple sentences, if you fill in the blank, you know, if somebody says, you know, you touched on these, I use LinkedIn for my professional network, I use Twitter as a marketing tool, I use Ning for fill in the blank. For
meeting and connecting with people who share your interests and passions.
What's the average number of people in a social network across your 2 million social networks, and how long do they typically stay?
Right. So we actually don't look at it on an average basis because that's not actually a really good measure. We actually look at it instead on a power law curve. So, you know, the largest Ning networks represent, you know, call it 60–70% of our traffic, and then there's certainly the long tail, and then there's the inactive networks that were really created for experimentation and to try it out in the same way people created, you know, HTML web pages when the web first started. Right. And that's actually the thing that we think about and how we measure our success is along the power law curve. The thing that's actually been interesting from what we've learned is that it's actually pretty well distributed. So that middle chunk of Ning networks that sort of go from, call it, 100,000 members through to 150 members, that's actually a really good chunk of our traffic. And the things that we've learned that I think, you know, I certainly didn't know when we started Ning was, one, if a network hits 150 people, it will continue to grow indefinitely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just 150 people.
150 people, which is interesting because...
When does it hit the curve?
Well, it depends on the topic, and it depends on whether the idea really grabs people, whether the idea and organization of it is something that has a hook to it. When you show up, you know, for example, on the Offbeat Bride Tribe, which is a Ning network for alternative brides. It has over 10,000 members, and it is incredibly active because it is the definitive place for brides who want their own identity and their own personality to really shine through their wedding, for them to go and meet other brides who actually share that same goal. Right. And those kinds of hooks, what's so cool is when you show up at the Offbeat Bride Tribe, you know whether or not you're an offbeat bride. If you're a guy, you probably don't belong on the Offbeat Bride Tribe. Yeah. If you are someone who's always dreamed about your Vera Wang wedding dress and wedding, you probably aren't on the Offbeat Bride Tribe. But that's what makes it so special, I think. You can really show up somewhere on Ning, on a Ning network, be invited in, and you can meet new people that really share the same things that make you unique and special in a really deep, immersive way.